What's going on, everyone? If you like the videos I'm putting out on this channel, remember to hit that like button. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you get all my content right to your device every time I upload. And I thank you for your continued support. So let's talk about not only the events that may transpire after Dragon Ball Super, but actually beyond Dragon Ball Super Broly. I want to talk about the future of the franchise, because there's been a lot of talk lately on various different platforms of Super coming back, and I want to talk about the possibilities of Oob possibly being a main character or the main character in the future of Dragon Ball. Now, obviously not in the near future, but at some point, Masako Nozawa, who voices Goku, is going to retire, or worse, maybe, move on to the next life. And I hopefully that doesn't happen for a while, but at some point it will happen. So where does the series go? Now, in the manga, when the story ended, and at the end of Dragon Ball Z, it was Goku and Oob flying off together, and Toriyama heavily, I guess you can say, hinted at, if not outright said, that Oob is the future of, the Earth, sort of like the next hero, so to speak. And we've been talking about, a story being, I guess, about Goten, Trunks, Pan, and whatnot. But what about Oob? Is Oob Goku's final student? Is Oob truly the future? I want to discuss that with you guys. Obviously, with this discussion, we're going to be erasing the events of GT because, hell, they erased it. GT's like a different continuity altogether. Let's talk about what could happen post-time skip, after Broly, after Goku is retired. Can Oob be a good main character, and why? So joining me on this discussion, yes, folks, he is back. He was on the channel last week, and he's back again this week to discuss this. Somebody who's actually pretty familiar with Oob, Quaman. Hey!
What's up, guys? Alrighty, let's get the party started.
Alrighty, guys. It is Quaman here today. Classic. I actually miss your old videos, bro. I went back and watched one of your old videos, and I missed, like, with the D-Wade intro and everything. Remember the old days,
yeah,
bro?
Man,
it was
2013.
I feel like they were simpler times, dude.
Yeah.
But I went to go see that movie, Searching, and in the movie, without spoiling it, there's actually a clip of, like, old YouTube, how it used to look, when you could do video responses, and it just gave me a lot of memories. So,
yeah, back in the day.
Anyways, let's talk about Oob, bro. So, all right. Putting GT aside, because I feel like Dragon Ball GT really mishandled Oob, what do you think? Like, do you think it's a possibility that they could, if they're planning ahead, slowly, this will take time, sort of segue into Oob being a main character, if not the main character of Dragon Ball, beyond Super, beyond Broly? We're talking about years and years down the road. I know that Dragon Ball Absalon, really, the fan project really did put a lot of focus on Oob, but What do you think? Do you think Oob is a sustainable main character? And if so, what could they do to make him interesting?
Well, here's the thing. The way I think this question should be best answered is to look at Ball Z and GT kind of as separate universes, because
that's a weird outlook, bro.
Well, the reason why I say it, because first of all, there's inconsistencies between all three of them. But like, if you look at it from the perspective of Dragon Ball Z, it made perfect sense if Toriyama were to continue the manga to include Oob as a central character. Obviously, GT included Oob, but did absolutely nothing with this character. And I think with Dragon Ball Super, because Super is kind of going into a direction completely different from GT, I don't see them making Oob the main character, but there are several reasons why they should. First of all, we all know that Dragon Ball is a shonen anime, a shonen manga, which tries to cater to young and teenage boys. So because of that, Dragon Ball could use a young male protagonist to kind of appeal to the kids, especially since they haven't done anything with Goten and Trunks. At the same time, however, I don't really think Oob has enough clout with the Dragon Ball fanbase for people to really care about him, which is why I believe, Geekdom, that if you were to include other new characters for the future of Dragon Ball, I could actually see them going more and focusing on the Universe 6 Saiyans as opposed to actually introducing Oob as a central point moving forward.
Well, that's a good point, but I've noticed that a lot of people, and I'm not really sure why, but Oob is strangely popular. He has that hardcore fan base. There's a lot of videos on YouTube featuring Oob that get a lot of love. People seem to be interested in Oob a lot, and I agree with you in the sense that I can see them doing a Universe 6 Saiyan storyline, but I also see them kind of figuring like, okay, for the main core story of Dragon Ball, we have to keep things in perspective of Universe 7, because we have Beerus here, we have Whis here, and we have the other Saiyans here like Vegeta and Goku's offspring. So I see them kind of, if they're going to keep the story at Universe 7, you know, that's why I would think Oob could work. In my opinion, though, I think that in order to make Oob work, they have to make him interesting, but not make him like Goku. See, the thing is that Dragon Ball is the story of Goku, but moving beyond Goku means moving beyond Goku. I don't want Oob to be another Goku. I want Oob to be his own thing. Now, one storyline that I think could make Dragon Ball, and it might be a little too, I guess in a way, sophisticated for Dragon Ball, but we've seen it before. We've actually seen it a couple of times in Dragon Ball, but mostly... well, we've actually seen it with Majin Buu, and that is the idea that Oob discovers. It's sort of like what they did with Goku in the sense of like a poem, like how George Lucas would say it rhymes. Perhaps at some point, Oob is either told by Goku or he discovers that he used to be Majin Buu. He finds out that he, in a previous life, used to be Majin Buu, used to be Kid Buu. And he has to deal with that demon inside of him. And I would love a storyline where, as the series surrounding Oob continues, he starts to kind of have this reflection on himself, like, you know, this is who I used to be. He feels an extreme level of guilt and an extreme level of worry because of what happened to Majin Buu. Case in point, when Majin Buu lost control, the evil inside of him seeped out and became the skinny Buu. We saw that in Dragon Ball Z episode 255 and 254. 256, that whole area. So the idea of Oob kind of having a fight with himself while protecting the Earth, I think would be a great way to kind of create a fresh new main character and exploring something that we haven't seen in Dragon Ball from a main character. We've seen it from Piccolo and Kami, we've seen it from different entities, but not from Oob. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of be like you're dealing with some type of mental illness or like your internal, you know, problems. And I think that's something that Dragon Ball hasn't really focused on a lot, where obviously characters have internal struggles, but that would be, you know, really interesting to see a child character having to go through that. I think one thing, though, that should be added to this is that I feel like if Oob were to be a central character geekdom, and I said this in a video recently, I think you would have to base the whole show around Oob. I think you would have to make a new Dragon Ball series. I think if you want to continue Dragon Ball Super, like if you're trying to continue what we've already had from Super, I think that has to go in a direction of all these new universes and Caulifla and all that stuff. But if you make like, I don't know, Dragon Ball Ultimate, I'm making it up, but if you make like a new show, right, but if you just made a new show that would focus on this time period afterwards, I actually think that would be significantly better because it's not going to collide with all of the stuff that's been developing over the last 3 years.
And you know what else they could do, too, just to be kind of creative and unique is, and that's why this is an after Dragon Ball Super topic, this is deep into the future, is they could make a storyline that is deep into the future. And what I mean by that is even deeper than GT. Of course, we're erasing GT from the whole conversation for just this discussion, and actually it should be erased because it doesn't fit with Super. But with Oob, you know, they could have a storyline where Oob is a grown up, and he's telling these stories of him as a kid and this legend Goku and the things he learned from Goku and how he evolved as a person, having to deal with the reality that he used to be a demon and that he has this secret power. So what we're doing here is we're creating a character that's kind of like a combination of Goku, Gohan, and in some ways Piccolo. You've got aspects of all three characters. You've got, you know, because Oob does remind me of Gohan. He's very family-centric. He really fights for his family. And he's also got a secret power that he doesn't quite know how to control yet. So revisiting that, but instead finding out that the reason he has that power is he used to be evil, I think would be a great freaking TV series. And if you agree with that, leave a comment down below. If you disagree, that's okay too. I want to hear your ideas as well in the comments about Oob. Now, I want to ask you, when it comes to marketing, you know, I've talked about this before with Mad Black and a few other people. The idea of Dragon Ball moving on without Goku is something that people just can't grasp, but I feel like if the series is going to continue or survive, at some point it has to do it. How do you think they can make this to where Oob is a central figure of the story and people not forget about Goku, but accept him as being the next guy in, you know, the next main character? What could they do for this?
Well, I think if you were to do a show where you want to feature Oob as the central main character, that would be very challenging. But what you could do is you could start the series or the segment of Super off with Goku training and Oob doing that stuff, and like you said, have a time skip. So then now Dragon Ball fans can only focus on Oob, because as long as you have Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo and Trunks and all these other characters around, I think Dragon Ball fans are always going to have an innate bias to those characters. So the only way to focus on Oob is to kind of eliminate those characters. And I think one final point I should make about that specifically is if you look at Dragon Ball GT, you know how like they had like that 100-year time skip after Goku defeated Omega and all that stuff?
Yeah, the last episode, absolutely.
I think that is something that like you would need, because you need to have a time period where those other characters don't exist, so you could focus on characters like Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. in a much older Pan. So I think that's really the only way that this series could work.
Now, just to clarify, you're not saying that they have to copy what they did in GT. You're saying skip that distance of time.
Right.
You or something like that, yeah.
Right. You have to have a time period where those characters are no longer dominant or really in the story.
An era where Goku and Vegeta are essentially moved on. They either are retired, old, or dead, and you've got Oob. Now, here's the question, though. Wouldn't the idea be to focus and incorporate the Z fighters of the current day? Like, for example, should Oob have Goten, Trunks, and Pan as the core of the new Z fighters, or should it be somebody else? Because I have another idea about this, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I think they could, but the issue with Pan specifically, I mean, there's issues with every character. If you keep every character in context really quickly, Goten stopped fighting to go chase women. If you go with GT, and even if you go with Z, it seemed like he got lazy.
It's implied in the last episode. Yeah.
Right. Trunks didn't, like, he just became, like, you know, like the head of the scientists at Capsule Corp. And then if you look at, you know, in the situation of Pan, Dragon Ball Super is kind of weird because, like, they don't really know if they're going to build Pan to be a fighter or just a normal person. So I think the uncertainty of those characters would have to be developed before we would focus the series on them.
I think what they could do is change. This is kind of a radical idea. It's not. It's really a risky idea, but I think it's a bold one. And that is, I think the new Z fighters that Oob will be leading are going to be characters from all the different universes. For example, you have a hit-like character, an assassin. You have maybe a Namekian, and the core story could be that Beerus and Whis need Oob to protect certain universes, and he goes and he recruits fighters from different universes. Not all 12, but I mean, like, you know, one from here, one from there. So you create a brand new series of characters, fresh new characters from all the different universes that they pick, maybe four or five characters, no more than that. And that's the new Z Fighter team, if you want to even call them that, the new main characters team. Brand new characters. Again, these are all new characters, but we're still building upon what Super has put the foundation there. We've still got the alternate universes, and we've got it taking place in the same universe, and thus Dragon Ball fans will find familiarity with the new characters. We know what Namekians are because you watch Z and Super and all that. We know what Hit's assassin race is, or whatever. Maybe they could even have, what I think they could do to really get radical is have Oob recruit one of Frieza's clans or Frost's family. Have him be one of the good guys, and then it's on like a future Dragon Ball Heroes type thing. Like,
right.
It's what people thought Dragon Ball Hoshi the Hoax was. You know, a new generation. Goku and the others are just memories, but they're still, occasionally I could see them doing flashbacks of back when they were alive and kind of filling in the gaps. That's what I really want to see from the future of Dragon Ball. Maybe not necessarily Oob as the main character, but that's the best way I think it could work.
Yeah, and you know, the funny thing about all of this is that I think that, like a lot of other shows out there, like, it's one of those things where when a person falls so in love with its central characters, you always think, like Boruto, for example. Like, obviously Naruto is still in Boruto, but like when you're so familiar with the previous cast and then you have like a new person to kind of step in their shoes, there's always a huge risk of alienating the fan base if that main character isn't originally involved. So I do think Goku would have to have some role in terms of popularity. But in terms of a story, that would seem like a great original idea. And the best thing I think they should do, Geekdom, is I think they should have a manga to go with this that's consistent.
Right. Well, that's up to Shueisha and what they're going to do. So, all right. Well, let us know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to check out Quaman. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. And thanks for being here, bro.
Anytime, amigo.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.